All right, let's move to the NFL and a much dicier topic that is not very rosy, and that's the Cleveland Browns. And I'm sure there's a segment of the NFL population already sick of the Shadur Sanders talk. I know for a fact Kevin Stefanski is, because he's going to be facing questions about it all week at OTAs. Folks, Deion Sanders is an unbelievable football talent, and he looks like he's a pretty damn good head coach, too. As a kid growing up, I remember Deion Sanders. He was unbelievable, okay? With the Falcons, with the Niners, like just a great career. The one thing I liked, which is not serving him well now, is that he loved to run his mouth. I love trash talking. Yes, I play in men's basketball leagues. Sometimes I run my mouth too much. I've dialed it back in my advanced age. Deion, you need to do the same, my guy. So Deion Sanders was on a podcast this week, the Say What Needs to Be Said podcast. Meanwhile, we haven't heard from Deion about his son, about the Browns, since the draft. Take a deep breath, folks, because Deion's talking again. Here's what he had to say.
When you sit up there and say something like, he went in a meeting unprepared, like, dude, Shadur Sanders, who's had 6 different coordinators, stop lying. Like, you got to understand, my kids are built for everything. They want to create these narratives and create these stories and then attach them to a kid that ain't never done nothing wrong. You going to tell me he had on headphones, Shedeur? Anybody know my son, understand he's a professional. Like, he's going to go into a meeting with headphones on. Like, y'all, come on, man. It did hurt.
Not good. Not good at all. This, my friends, is why Shadur Sanders fell in the draft. I thought it was probably 50% Deion, 50% Shadur. I'm now thinking NFL teams, front offices were just like, no thank you on Shadur Sanders precisely because of this. Folks, it's the beginning of June, and Deion is already complaining about his son and what went down at the draft. And you know there are teams that passed on Deion this morning. That's why we didn't want him. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll looking at their owner. I told you, we don't need this crap. And again, I'm not going to challenge what Deion said. It doesn't really matter. Did he wear headphones to a meeting with a team? I don't know. That seems like something weird to make up for a team. But Deion's pushback is, oh, would he wear headphones to a meeting? Well, he either did or didn't. And oh, by the way, this whole, he had 6 offensive coordinators. That's not denying what went down at the meeting, him being unprepared. And again, Shadur has an uphill climb in Cleveland. And I think a lot of it has to do with exactly what Deion's saying on this podcast. So Kevin Stefanski's going to show up at OTAs this week, and he's not going to get asked about, hey, how's Myles Garrett looking in the defense? What's up with Nick Chubb? Have you made a decision? How about the wide receiver room? You know, a lot of change there. Any quarterback update. It's not going to be any of that. It's going to be, so Deion Sanders said this, and now you're getting questions about your 4th string quarterback in June. And folks, it ain't going to end here. This is going to continue. Anytime Deion steps in front of a microphone, nobody cares about the Colorado Buffaloes right now. Travis Hunter's in the NFL. Shedur's gone. You know what they're going to ask Deion. Hey, you know, Kenny Pickett threw 3 picks in a preseason game. Deion, your thoughts? And Deion, who has a history of talking, that's what made him famous. That's why he's primetime. You think he's going to be able to stand down and pull back? Folks, I thought of an analogy this morning, and I'm like, wait a sec. So Arch Manning at Texas was beat out in back-to-back years by Quinn Ewers. And you could argue, hey, he was a young guy. Okay, fine. But you know, in Texas fans, there were a lot of them ready for Arch Manning. And Arch Manning's parents, and Peyton, and Eli, all the Mannings, they've done a ton of interviews. They're on red carpets all the time. They could have easily said he should have been the guy over Quinn. Well, you know, Quinn Ewers struggled against Georgia. Why didn't Arch get the start? Easily, anybody in the Manning clan could have popped up and said something. Nothing. They stayed out of it. They powered down, and they let their kid figure it out. Hey, Deion, Shedur's now 23 years old. I'm not telling a grown man what to do, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, Deion, if you next time you were asked about it, hey, man, I wish my son the best. I will be rooting for him hard. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. Go Browns. On to the next question. Just stop. All you're doing is hurting Shadur. And oh, by the way, do you remember? Shadur Sanders talked about this exact thing recently. Here's a video.
99% of hatred is, towards Pops. And then I'm just his son. So it really just comes from that, and I told him that too. This the older generation that do it to me rather than the younger people. Because when I come in person, there's no negativity I see, but it's all over online.
You know, I got two kids, and we're trying this new thing. This woman, Mel Robbins, is a pretty smart lady with some really good insights, and her phrase is "let them" with your kids. Just let them. They're going to have to figure it out on their own. And it's very difficult. You know, I got two, a 12 and a 14-year-old, and I'm trying to get them to bed like, hey, we got to set good habits and get to bed early and wake up and do this. And my wife's like, hey, let them. They're going to have to figure it out on their own. Hey, staying up till 10:30, not a great idea when you got, you know, a bunch of tests the next day and a lot of homework. And I shouldn't be on my iPad. I should be doing this. And you got to let them. I think Deion Sanders needs to just stand down and let Shedeur figure it out. It's going to be difficult, but he's 23. He's out of the house. I know this is the first time in forever that you haven't coached him, right? I believe he's been coaching him since like youth leagues and high school. He was a coordinator. Deion, you got to stand back. I mean, this is a prime example of why prime is a problem. I'm wishing him luck. And you know who I'm also wishing luck to is Kevin Stefanski, who has a mighty big hill to climb this week.